Happy 7-year anniversary, my lovely people. This is your hostess Flamingo Ready here speaking to all once again, and we're back again for another video. Well, everybody, this is it. The 7-year anniversary video you've all been waiting. It's been quite the journey getting here. Way back in 2019, I started making my account during the time period because I wanted to start something fresh at the However, I myself didn't really start my account right away, mostly due to two things. One, I was doing a full-time job with my babysitting and everything, so there was no way I could have easily gotten those videos done in time. And if you thought that they would be more sporadic than they were now, you'd be right. Especially because I really can't stress enough how much that would have affected my channel anyways. But the other reason is also because I didn't know what platform I should use them under. Way before I started using StreamYard for my videos, which I know that some people are going to say it's overdoing it, but I either use that or just really use my face in order to judge by. And if you know me, you know how insecure I am with me showing my face. But that would have been the end of the story until something happened. However, in 2023, back when I was trying to see if I could find a niche for my channel, I was doing some YouTube drawings. Despite what some people might tell you, I'm not the greatest artist out there. I mean, look at this. It doesn't even look like I even tried, to say the least. Though while I admit that, yes, it did get me noticed for some reason out there, I really can't say that the drawings didn't go someplace out there. And while, yes, I did make friends prior from when I was making my own account, since then, I think it's only fitting to say I can tell you about my own friends as time goes on when we get to the video, but I think it's only fitting to save those shoutouts at the end of this video. Moving on. But even with that said, however, somehow some people did take realize of recognition for my channel. When I was doing that competition for an Ever After High person, she actually did ask me to join the competition after she gave me this here template to do my own artwork. It's nothing special, but for some reason it actually blew itself out of the water, and thus my channel was born, sort of. See, before I started my niches, I was more talking about people that I would call out, especially during behind the scenes. There weren't that many good things that were happening. One of those would have to be Madeline Hatter, and despite what they go by their username, this is one user that I personally had beef with because of what she did behind the scenes, especially because she groomed kids, and much to my own detriment, that's really what made me had to blow my friendship with her, especially since I had to get the word out and I didn't want anyone to associate with her, and from then on I had to jump through hoops again. Because if you recall from those times, I remember her way back when I was doing my channel, I was originally going to do some series known as Flamingo's Take-Ons. But ever since then, I decided against those because, well, I don't like talking about drama. But for some reason, even if I don't like doing those take-ons no more, I have to give a bit of credit to those their videos. It actually did make me have friends along the way. Yeah, for some reason, I was not expecting anyone to find my channel due to these take-ons, if I'm being completely honest with you. Because, like it or not, even if I'm not really a drama person, especially because nowadays I'm trying to take away from those, I think what really blew up would have to be not just the Madeline Hatter videos, but as well as Star Giant Productions of all people. And before you say anything, I know some people are going to say to me, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And let me say this for the record, yes, I have heard about the latest stuff he's been committing, even having his own rogues gallery with other people who are still siding with him. I don't know how you can side with a dangerous degenerate, but still, it also gave me a lot more to say than I thought it would have. But despite the awful audio quality, which I still don't like going back to, I have to at least commend the people who did find me through these kind of videos, because if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here. But of course, I had to jump through hoops to see what else could stick with me, and one of those was also my Flamingo's writings, which I do on occasion. You know, I would do live streams a lot more, like I would do, like say some of my friends do with their live streams, like one does art streams and one does video game streams. Again, I'll give those shout outs at the end of this video. But it also goes without saying, the reason why I don't do these live streams that often is due to my schedule. I really can't do anything about it, so I really do apologize if it seems like that wouldn't be the most obligated thing out there. But you try going through a schedule without having a time for yourself if you want anything to judge by. Though admittedly, knowing how long this video has taken for me to make, I wouldn't be surprised either way. But there was also a time when I talked about my Magical Girl podcast, which is, in my experience, probably one of the better niches for me than those drama videos. Yeah, say what you want about them being there, and also they're not everyone's genre, but whether you like it or not, I'm still going back to this podcast anytime soon. In fact, next time I'm going to have my 40th episode. Oh my god. You know, when I started this podcast back in 2024, I had no idea I was going to get that many episodes this far, but still, I guess that's what happens when your time reaches by you, so what do I know? But, and if anything, I wanted to do something a little different for myself when it comes to this anniversary video, because back when I started out, I only did live streams during those time periods. In 2024, I did a live stream about a Q&A, which was not that great. Most of the Q&A I got were just drama questions, and they were just saying, did you catch up on the latest drama and whatnot? Look, guys, I'm all for catching up on whatever I can, but please, I want to do my own thing for once. And then there's also last year where I also did another thing that I did that wasn't around drama, but it was around my creativity, which was mostly just me showing my own book covers, if nothing else, however, because, like I said, I just wanted to focus on my creativity. I only took a month and a half off during that time period, mostly due to the fact that I was going through a lot during that time, and for someone who turned out to be a star giant, alt account, or white knight, or whatever have you, saying that I am a bully all because I take care of my family. You know, it's a bad sign when you really get me in a bad mood, and because of that, I'm just gonna say right here and now, why should you care about what I do with my everyday life when I don't really care about what you do in your everyday life? It's not like I'm gonna go ahead and commit something, unless you're one of those people who just really feel parasocial when you think about it. And for that matter alone, I don't want to get into parasocialism, because for that matter, I think we've all been better off for it. You know what I'm saying? But after all of that, after that long-ass introduction, I might as well do something else for my 7th anniversary. That being my love for creativity. Yeah, I could have done this sooner to have you guys understand my character a bit more, but really, I wanted to give you guys a little more depth about myself as a person before then, and then go into the creativity itself. I know this may seem like a weird way to show myself a little more, but like it or not, I'm still trying to do whatever I can do for myself. So without further ado, after that long-ass intro aside, let's get into nitty-gritty. This is the story about how I got into creativity. Part 1, Origin. So like I said, we're going into to talk about what got me into creativity, and as any other story would have, it's best to talk about its origin and behind it. So what got me into creativity, you might be asking? Well, let's start at the beginning. And when you get right down to it, that's really something you need to understand when it comes to creativity. Because, as you guys couldn't tell, I love any kind of creativity I could get my flamingo wings on. It doesn't matter what kind. Whether that's animation, drawing art, different kinds of video games, writing, making any kind of music they want, cooking up some delicious meals, you name it. I was really one of those people who just loves whatever kind of creativity I can devour. However, my origin story when it comes to creativity would have to be animation. And before you say anything, I get that this is a surprise to absolutely no one in my audience, unless you're like, what, 1 or 2 people. But I really feel like it's really best for me to say that creativity for animation has always stuck with me for a long time. But what got me into animation much more than you may think was through my... Now, I don't have my VHS tape collection no more, but I am trying to find as much images as I can to present this year video. But one thing I need to say right off the bat, let me just preference by saying I did not have every DVD collection from Disney there anyways. While VHS was still my shit at the time, I was basically engulfing a lot of these up as time went on. Even when I used to watch it with my nana, my younger sister, and on occasion my other family members. So it's pretty clear that they really knew how much this really gravitated my attention. So much so that I would not stop watching these movies entirely. Oh, and by the way, when I say that I watched these movies entirely, I meant that. See, as a kid, these movies were made for not just me and mine, but as well as how much my brain kept cooking up some ideas. Like, I had to go through the process to see what sticks and what doesn't as a kid, because I really do love whatever movies I can find, just so I can see it for myself. Now, I will say that these movies are really something that I still watch, but you know how some kids usually just watch the movies and don't care about the previews or say, hey, the behind the scenes? Well, that kind of itself stuck with me, and one of those movies actually stuck with me to the point where I did it with the other VHS tapes as well. Now, while I admit, yes, The Secret of Nim will always be my favorite animated movie out there, I will say that I did have other favorite animated movies out there in my own nostalgia that I still go back to again and again. But which movie, you're probably wondering, is what movie would that be if I was still sticking with throughout the time? Well, you're going to find it a weird yet dorky choice, but screw it. I'm still going to say it anyways. The first time that ever got me into more animation as time went on would have to be Disney's Peter. As weird as it is to have a movie like this to be a part of what made me love animation a lot more than I realized was probably due to a number of reasons for Peter Pan. Not only because it was more on fantasy and about kids not wanting to grow up when they go to Neverland, and yes, before you ask, I do realize that Peter Pan does not belong to Walt Disney as most people may claim it. No, it was actually part of the public domain by the person who wrote it himself, Jim Barry. But the reason why this one stuck with me so much is because not only did I watch out thoroughly the movie itself, but I also watched the previews and as well as the documentaries when they had the behind the scenes. Now, I realize that some people are going to say to me by the end of the day that it doesn't matter because, let's be real here, unless you're someone like me who really enjoys Disney movies, then that's really something to be half of anyways. However, one thing that does get to me about Disney, on the other hand, is the behind the scenes. Say what you want about Walt Disney being a jerk behind the scenes, or say how he's beloved all the time, but like it or not, I still find Walt Disney a treasure, a part of my childhood, as well as animation in general. And I mean really, really into the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, the documentaries themselves are really what stuck with me to this day after I started watching Peter Pan and the like. And ever since then, I don't know if anyone has done this when they were kids or anything like that, or maybe they still do nowadays, but whenever I watch something that's on VHS as a kid, I would beg my parents not to take the VHS out until I was done with the movie entirely, both with the previews and the documentaries as well. And while I admit, yes, this was a bit weird for me, for my taste, keep in mind, I was a kid during that time when I wanted to see what was going on, and from there, I still had these documentaries in my head since then. Hell, I still watch them every now and then when I want to bring back a nostalgia trip in my mind. While I admit that, yes, you could argue that I could have at least done research for myself, this was before I knew the internet was a thing. Animation stuck with me thanks to Walt Disney's VHS tapes, and while I may not have any more, sad frowny face here, I don't really think that's really enough to say that that doesn't stop me from checking them out every once in a while. Hell, that's one of the reasons why animation not only stuck with me, but it also got me into thinking, hey, why not I create something for a change? Because, like it or not, this was when I was brainstorming ideas. And before you say anything, I get that's a little dorky for a kid to do anything like that, but come on now. Even as an adult, I still love creativity. But behind the scenes, especially ones from animation, will always stick with me. I do have other kinds of animation, like, say, from TV, like, hey, the big three networks or whatever, but while I didn't have a lot of TV growing up, especially because I had mostly the internet with me for my teen years and so on, I still don't think that when I was a little kid, this actually stuck with me more than you may think. I mean, look at the set design and tell me that you'd be so surprised how much passion they have into it. If this doesn't show you how much they cooked up with their ideas, I don't know what would. But don't think that we're going anywhere just yet, because we're just getting started. So I guess it's only natural to say we might as well go on to the next chapter. Like, what did I do aside from gravitating the attention of the works of Disney? What was the first thing that ever came to my mind? Well, it's pretty weird to say out loud, but the first thing I ever had to do was part 2, writing. So I realize that some people are going to say to me that, really? You could have done drawing, Flammy. Why didn't you just go to that instead of writing? Well, it's mostly because I didn't really think I had the strength to do my drawings anyways, and if you see my drawings on my videos, then yeah, they're not that much to do so already. But I'll probably have to show my OCs nowadays because when you get right down to it, my drawings back then were nothing but complete garbage. However, I want to talk about my writing because that's something that I need to go more in depth with, since I don't think I went more in depth with it in my video when I talked about my father and anything, which was almost a year ago. Jeez Louise. These years are going by fast, aren't they? I don't know how to feel about that. Anyways, moving on. Now, as you can probably guess from there, writing is basically not everyone's strong suit, or at least maybe it's not as popular as it was back then. But as a kid, writing was definitely something that I needed to do if I wanted to do something about it. Now, I was 5 or 6 years old when I was starting to try to find my own niche as a writer of anything, but the first thing I ever had to write something down was, wouldn't you know it, my name. And I don't know about anyone else when they wrote their names, but I had a weird way of writing my name. Like, I would basically write it the first letter by using an uppercase, then I go to the next 2 letters by making them lowercase, and make the rest of my and name all uppercase afterwards. I have no idea why I did that. Maybe because I was pretending I'm so cool or something like that. Like, seriously, I don't know what made me do that. And to be as honest as I can, I'm not really that cool to begin with. Like, don't become me if you're ever gonna see me like this. Anyways, yeah, apparently this was enough for me to say that while I admit writing may not be everyone's strong suit, it was enough for me to say that's how I expressed myself even more than I thought it would happen. However, when I did do lists of things that I did for writing, I will say the first thing I ever did was basically write lists down. And the first time I ever did a list was not a grocery list or a miscellaneous list, like you could go to the store and get the stuff that you want or need. No, the list I did were mostly on Littlest Pet Shop pets, which were basically my favorite toys as a kid. And I mean, I would really collect these a lot as a kid. Whenever my mom or dad or whoever would get me something for my birthday or something that I've been doing good at school, when it comes to something that they was expecting, they would literally get me Littlest Pet Shop pets. And yes, before you ask, even at school, they sometimes get me Littlest Pet Shop pets, but they usually just give me one pet, if anything out there, which is understandable considering how many you don't know what you're going to get in a pack. But when I was getting these Littlest Pet Shop pets, I don't know if anyone else has done this, but this involves me writing down a list of names that I would hate to name when it comes to these here animals. Like, you would not believe how many times I had to write down the names so that I can memorize them. Yeah, whenever I do come up with names for these little guys, or say whenever I'm creating something, I usually write down the name so that way I'll remember how much it really influenced me to remember the names, and therefore just remember that's what they are when I start playing with them. And when I play with them, I'm just gonna come out and say it, sometimes I would either reenact a movie that I would watch that I was inspired by, or there were some times, if anything, I would just really go down to myself and say, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can create my own movie despite no camera and everything. Oh, what's wrong with me? But even taking that in, yeah, these little Pet Shop pets were what made me do my own lists. However, that wasn't the only thing I did when I was writing. So, you remember when I said that in my Remembrance of My Father's video, when I talked about I wrote parody lyrics as a kid, when I was 8 or 9 years old? Yeah, that in of itself is also where I did my writing as well. However, before that, well, I can't really show you an image because I don't have the picture anymore, and what's more, I can't find the picture of me doing cursive writing, because that was another thing doing my writing, if anything. I was also being a complete dork for writing parody poems as well, because my poems were nothing more than just cringeworthy. I'm not gonna say what it's all is because I wrote it years ago, but I will say one of the few lyrics I wrote in that poem was basically flower shower flower power, give me a shower, or something like that. Like, judging for how much that really made me cringe, I don't know why these teachers really didn't mind it. Maybe they didn't think much of it, or maybe there's something there that they didn't see. Who's to say? What I will say, however, is that, yeah, apparently this was enough for me to say that I don't know what was going through my mind as is. But on parody lyrics I remember writing that my dad found out by writing at that time was whenever I ducked in just to write. And what I meant by that is that whenever I was a kid, I would constantly duck into places. Like, it didn't matter where. Whenever there was no one around me, I would just duck into places. Whether it's the basement just to watch the movies and grab some ideas, or there was also my sisters in my bedroom together because we were all sharing the same bedroom together, and therefore we were all just doing our own thing, even though one of the first few parody lyrics I wrote on top of my head was Reflection. Now, if you've been following me since Instagram or anything like that, and if you follow me for my real stories, you might be asking yourself, why do I use that song in particular? Well, if anything, it's probably one of, if not my favorite Disney song of all time, and I really do mean that. And I mean it really stuck with me. See, back when I was a kid, this song was always in my head because for some reason as a kid I didn't understand why it did. And this is coming from someone who loves music so much anyways. Yeah, for some reason I didn't understand it when I was a kid, even if I was spitballing to do some parody lyrics off the top of my head, which, given the fact that I didn't know those were parody lyrics at a very young age until I was around to my teen years, I was already going through the process of writing as it is. And when you get right down to it, that's really what it boils down to. See, when I sat down to listen to Reflection, both the movie and Christina Aguilera's version, it really still sticks with me to this day. But as I moved to past those years, I think I figured out why they stuck with me. See, Reflection is a beautiful song from both the movie and as well as the ending credits when it has Christina Aguilera. Although admittedly I only watched the music video more than listened to the one from the credits, which is kind of weird because I usually listen to music from the end credits, and both back then and to this day. But even in taking that in, I'm not going to mince words. Watching these two back to back, if anything, especially during the time period, really caught my nostalgia and the reason why I listened to it. See, Reflection is not just any song out there. It's a song that basically sticks with me because it's basically trying to find out who you really are inside, even if people from your stifled surroundings try to get away from you from that. And honestly, when you get right down to it, it does feel claustrophobic when you want to get yourself out there, but you have a hard time getting out of your shell when getting right down to it. As someone who has a hard time getting out of their comfort zone as well as trying to get to themselves out there, this song still sticks with me to this day, and I don't regret it one bit when listening to this song. Hell, I even listen into it whenever I'm thinking about something that reflects me, and even taking that in, I think my dad also gave me a lot of notebooks when doing so already, because during that time period I did another kind of writing. And I don't mean just writing music, although admittedly around that time I was going through my depression state around my teen years because I went through my first breakup. But I really wanted to write other stuff too, like stories. And whether you like it or not, I still love writing stories even to this day. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Stories are this and that, but let me tell you, if it wasn't for something like movies, books, comics, or hell, even video games or anything in general, we probably wouldn't get such fascinating lores of any kind of story. As long as you hear the narrator of your own story, I don't see a problem with that anyways. So, one thing I need to admit, and this is pretty weird in hindsight, is how I wrote these stories. So, let me set the scene for you. Imagine yourself for a quick second that you're writing a story, but basically take whatever notebook paper you could find. Okay, not so bad so far. And as you can probably imagine, it sounded like I was doing anything with my writing, but apparently this was one of the weirdest ways how I wrote. Aside from my first name, I also wrote something down that was a bit strange. See, when I was a kid, I would write down by putting it down on the right piece of paper, turn the page, not to write something on the back, and then go from the next paper and just do it like that over and over again. You see how ridiculous that sounds? I mean, sure, maybe it's because I was trying to see what I could make out of chapters, which is something that a lot of teachers, especially at the time, were kind of both divisive. Some people found it really intriguing, the story, while others just thought I was just whatever. Like, it'd be one thing if you want to see how people write a story, but it'd be a whole nother story when you realize that I was just a kid during the time. I know that's no excuse or anything like that, but let's be real here. As kids, we do dorky things like that. Did you really expect us to be the smartest light bulbs in all of the light boxes? And I don't mean that by saying anything disrespectful or anything like that. I'm just saying that if it wasn't for that, however, I probably wouldn't have been really so up against my writing, if anything, to judge by. But while I did do a lot of writing, if anything, my dad is what made me motivate to do my own writing. He was the person who actually made me become the writer I want to be, and still be the one I was going to anyways. But since we've dragged on enough about part 2 so far of writing, let's get on to the next chapter, because, oh boy, we're still getting there, people. Part 3, Inspiration. Now that we've delved with two of these parts, both the origins and my writing, let's talk about inspiration. And if you've been with me for quite a long time, or at least just recently, then you already know how this goes. Inspiration is the key. Plagiarism is the wrong key. And I say this a lot because I had to learn this when I was going through a lot of my writing in classes. Like, as a kid, writing was basically something that I've always strived for to do. But there was just one problem. I didn't have any inspiration. See, I'm going to say this right here and now. I'm not completely innocent when it comes to writing when I was a kid or a teenager. I was basically one of those dorky ass people. And yes, I know I keep saying dorky, but still, I am kind of a dork if you think about it. Anyways, I was one of those people who just didn't know what to do with myself, because, get this, I was taking cartoon characters and claiming them to be on my own because I was just wanting to see what I can do with myself. This was before I learned fanfic was a thing, until I hit my middle school years. But taking that in, one thing that got me inspired to do such things was not just as the animation and as well as my writing, but as well as, you probably guessed it, my favorite genre out there. I'll go more in depth with the genre of itself if in a different video of what got me into it, but you're all already familiar with my channel, right? Well, if you haven't been following me for a while, my favorite genre of all time is the magical girl genre. Now, obviously, I know some people are going to say I could have picked some other genre that I could have loved, like, say, horror or superhero, or hell, even romance, if anything, because, let's be real here, many people will always go to use genres of anything. I don't have anything against those, my lovely people, but let's be real here, I want to do something for myself as well. So, Magical Girl was basically something that I would get into. However, I was around 11 or 12 when I first found my own Western Magical Girl show to be my introduction. And honestly, despite the genre of itself, say what you want about it being girly, or say it's really just the same as you usually see in every other genre out there, but I'd also argue that you can make that argument about any genre out there. You just need to add in a few tweaks here and there to make it your. However, one such series that really got my attention pretty well, and I realized that I did say I didn't want to do this show on my Patolero video if you've been with me since 2024 when I was fully experimenting my channel, but one such series that I've always wanted to talk about in of itself that I should try to go back on, even though it might take a while to do so, would have to be Gemini. Now, before you say anything, I get it. It's not really a magical girl show where they have battles and everything, but honestly, I don't really mind that, because not only is this supposed to be one of those subgenres out there with the magical idol industry when it comes to the genre of itself, but it also does really come into play. And it has a lot of things that I still love to this day. The colorful aesthetics, the songs, as cheesy as they may be for some people, it's also this here really unique way of looking at their fashion, which is probably where I really do admire, if anything. And then there's also the fact that these characters, in spite of what you may think of the writing nowadays, it seems like a lot of people say that the writing itself could age a lot better, if anything. I don't really mind that, because while I admit this could be because I was nostalgic for watching it on the Hub Network, nowadays known as Discovery Family, I still really do love this here show in spite of all that. If I ever do a Magical Girl podcast episode on this here show, I have to watch all the episodes, because from what I have seen the show, I've only seen like handful of episodes of anything. Yeah, I mean, not really a handful, just basically a chunkful or something. Yeah, there are 65 episodes in total, and this, along with another show named She-Ra, if anything, were really sticking with me. Now, the She-Ra I grew up with was, as well as Gem Holograms, did come from the 80s, so don't think I'm gonna say I'm about the modern one. Look, I'm not saying I've never really liked the modern She-Ra, but I can't really judge it because I haven't seen it, and I've really grown up with the one that came out from 1985. Wow, I don't know if I find a coincidence or not that both these shows take their own time to make, or maybe it's because I'm taking too much of it. But yeah, these were the first few Magical Girl shows I've watched that were from the West, and I really do admire that, if nothing else. However, I will say that these two really grabbed my attention because I didn't have a lot of girls shows growing up. I've only had whatever shows I could find in order to get my niche out there. Not to say I didn't like those, but come on now. I want something that sticks with me personally. And that in of itself is also where I wanted to create my own Magical Girl, but I didn't really get started it right away until I got to high school. And I wanted to do something with that inspiration, because while I admit I do love Magical Girl, I wanted something to make them stand out a bit more. Aside from the colors, the weapons, the use of aesthetic, and every now and then, although if you've been with my live streams, you've probably already seen them for yourself already, but one thing that stuck with me when it comes to those necessarily would also have to be, you probably are wondering what that could. And I know this is kind of weird to say, but what really gets to me when it comes to making my own characters, especially when it comes to having Magical Girl shows, was not just inspired by, say, the shows I watched, but as well as, I can't believe I'm saying this, gemstones, and as well as my friends. But like I said, we'll get to the shoutouts at the end of this video because we already have enough rambling on as it is. But the gemstones came from another source that made me want to do this. I realize that some people are going to say to me that Magical Girl always has gemstones as their own force, but it still can be used, right? Especially naming after characters, correct? Yeah, gemstones will always stick with me, but that's only because I watched a lot of other stuff when I was younger, like say Steven Universe and Starverse. Now, I'm not going to say which one is better because that's not what this video is about, but I am saying that what really gets to me is how much these two shows really stuck with me for both its aesthetic and as well as their own genres out there. Like Steven Universe with their gemstones, if you know me by now, you already know how this goes. I love gemstones, and while I love its story, that's really what I'm in for as well. Steven Universe will always be one of those shows that I'll never understand why people have to shit on people for just liking something that they dislike themselves. Like, guys, I realize that fan bases can be a bit much, but grow a pair and just let the person like what they like. As long as it's not hurting anyone, I'm sure they'll be freaking fine. But as for Star Versus, I already did do a Magical Girl podcast of this 2 years ago, but what you need to know is that while I admit the show is flawed, no duh, I still really enjoy what I've seen of it so far, and I think that these two may have gravitated my attention towards writing than you may think. And it wasn't just these two. I also love both these here shows, Daria and As Told by Ginger. Like Star Versus, I already went over a video on As Told by Ginger, but what I need to tell you is that it really seemed to make me the writer I have always strived for, especially because I wrote it's a lot when I was in high school, and I took my writing very seriously thanks to those two shows, that, and as well as Daria. Now, Daria is another show that, just like As Told by Ginger, it's not really a Magical Girl show, but it's definitely a teen drama show, which may or may not stick with some people, but I digress. But I really do love both these shows, if nothing else. I mean, seriously, I want to tell you right now, if these two shows, if anything to judge by, really helped me graduate through high school due to the struggles of life as it is, I don't know what to tell you, because I really felt like these two shows really grabbed my attention more than I thought it would have. And I know that's not saying a lot, considering that some people might think, well, you should have watched these when they came out, why didn't you? Well, like I said, I'm not a 90s kid, I'm a 2000s kid, first off, and second, I did have a little bit of As Told by Ginger, I just didn't grow up with it as much as I thought I would have. And the same can play with Daria, I guess you could say. I wouldn't know. I know my older sisters, one of them, or maybe both of them, said that they did have this show growing up. I don't really know, but I will say that it's still something that I really do enjoy, if nothing else. I know teen dramas are not everyone's cup of tea, and that's understandable considering there's a lot of pettiness here and there, but I think I was only able to enjoy it because it stuck with me on a personal level. However, during that time period, I will say that there was someone else that inspired me. And while I admit that I still do Magical Girl and stuff and continuum them, I still really feel like if I did talk about all of them, I probably would have a storm feud here and there. Because, well, I guess I can show you a bit of my OCs, but yeah, let's show them for a sec, shall we? So I do realize that some people are going to say it's a bit dorky just to show my OCs or anything, but just so you know, I made these OCs when I was using Moon's Closet for the girls and Bat Doll for her non-binary, and as well as for the boys. If anything, I really feel like that was the only way I could do my OCs because they give me a lot more imagination and I could do whatever I can out of it. I don't know how many of you people can see what I have on screen so far, but I will say that that's really what got me into making my own OCs, if anything, to judge by, because I'm one of those people who really needs some practice, if anything. I mean, I would use something like Magic Poser or any app out there if I want to get into my own creativity, if anything, but knowing how that bad my payment is from time to time, it may be hard to do so. Especially because when it comes right down to it, the OCs I have here are basically inspired by stuff that I really love watching, whether it's shoujo or josei magical girl, or for example, some things that I really picked up on when watching something. I will admit that my OCs are nothing special, even though my canon's somehow cute when I just call myself a prince. But taking that in, however, I still really love what I have created, if anything, even though some of them could use adjustments here and there. Like, I know Rainbow Academy may not seem like the kind of this writing series that many people would strive for, but keep in mind, I did say this in VC, and I will say this here as well, that I will admit that Rainbow Academy means School for New Beginnings, and from that point on, I hope to do a lot more with it as time goes on. So we'll have to see what the future lies in it. But there was one other person I wanted to talk about more than anything else about what got me inspired to do my own channel. Because while I admit I'm probably not going to get somewhere out there with my own writing as well, I think I might well just talk about him on this channel, because I really do really owe him for why I started this channel to begin. I really have to owe my channel to the hero of tomorrow. Now, I brought him up a few times on occasion, mostly because he's what really got me inspired to do my own channel as well, but he also was one of those that inspired me to keep on going as a writer. I started watching his channel back in June or July of 2015, which was, oh my god, 11 years ago? Jeez Louise, these times are going quicker than I imagined. Anyways, around that time when I was watching him and around it's the same person, Mr. Enter, I was really captivated into seeing what he had. Like, he was talking about Teen Titans, the original series specifically, and as well as the Powerpuff Girls, and that's what made me tune in to watch his channel even further. Hell, it's because of him, that's why I started doing my channel in the first place, because he really did quick on me a lot. Now, that's not to say that he was the only person that got me motivated into my own channel. Again, I'd hate to repeat myself again, but you're gonna have to wait until the end of this video to see who I have to say about these shoutouts. And I have to be honest, that was inspiration for him, if anything, probably wouldn't have gotten any further of what it could have been anyways. I started watching his backlog to see what he had, and let me tell you, they really caught my attention pretty. I mean, hell, just like me, he loves writing and animation as well. It's no wonder why he gravitated me faster than I've realized. And I always reenact myself into saying, what if I was a YouTuber, if it's myself anyways? I'll admit my videos are nothing spectacular, but I still will try my best to at least do whatever I can to entertain my audience. And if I have to be blunt, there is something that I unfortunately don't like talking about, but we might as well talk about something that just because I love creativity doesn't mean I can't talk about something that's been bothering me for quite some. Part 4, Burnout. Alright, so I realize that this may be a little heavy for some people out there, but don't worry, it's not going to be too heavy, at least I don't think it is, because I've been writing this part for myself again and again, and let me tell you, I had to rewrite the draft every time I tried thinking about what I wanted to say here. So, here it goes. What I'm about to tell you is basically about self-doubt and everything, and what's more, I'm not gonna name anyone here, especially when it comes to that, but Let me just say for the record, when it comes to burnout, I mostly have this due to the fact about a few things. But let's talk about something I need you to understand. See, I made no secret that I do get depressed from time to time, and as a writer like myself, I know for a fact some people don't like that. But sooner or later, I do feel like those cases are more apparent than I thought they would have. Here's what I mean. As a writer myself, I went through tons of burnout. Not just from today's standpoint, but back then as well. Most notably when I was still struggling to find myself as a person. See, when I was when I wasn't really so sure of myself at the time, there were times where I felt like being a writer just felt like I was just getting hell every time. Not gonna mince words. When I said that 2022 was the worst year for me, and I'm not trying to vent or anything, but let me tell you, someone in my family, most notably someone that I moved in with before he passed on, he was someone that personally did hurt my feelings when he saw my writing. At first glance, he didn't really bother me so much because he felt like someone that was motivating me as time went on, but for some reason, this guy just clearly acted like something about me just screams, I'm either jealous of this girl or maybe there's something there that made me want to holler at her. Like, you would not believe how many times I had a hard time writing, or worse yet, I could not do anything for that period of time. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat right, I couldn't think straight, and I couldn't even get my thinking when it comes right down to it. See, this is what I mean when I say if this video was out back then, or if I was still struggling at the time in 2022, my videos would probably be more sporadic than, say, my job would ever hope to have anyways. It's bad enough that when people yell and scold you for something that you enjoy doing, and then also or worse when people just feel like they're just doing it for clicks and shits and all that stuff. I'm not gonna mince words, this did hurt me more than you may think. And for those who I talk to every now and then probably already know who I'm talking about, but I'm just gonna leave him anonymous for this video because I'm pretty sure that you probably already know who it is, but if not, I'm pretty sure that's really better to stay that way. But he wasn't the only one to actually just to do so when it comes to yelling at me. He also hurt my feelings from time to time. Like, he would constantly call me the B word every time I did something for myself. Like, he would constantly pound his fist on the table, or sometimes he would hit himself in the head just to make it look like he wanted to hit me in particular. I don't know what was his deal. All I know for a fact is that he was someone that said that I was doing him instead doing something else. And I'm not going to say out loud what he tried to say to me because, well, it's too disturbing to talk about, but it is something that he did to leave me wondering. He caused me a lot of stress, a lot of pain, a lot of misery, and so much so forth that I thought I would never get into writing again. And hell, this may be a hot take, but if I was doing videos, if he was still around, I probably wouldn't be knowing when to do the next videos of anything. Like, it's bad enough when people say that it takes a while to make a video, but think about taking it several months after the first video you've done. And unfortunately, that person didn't really seemed to matter too much anyways. I know that a lot of people loved him in the family and everything, and people say I'm going to be overreacting because, well, again, this prince you're talking to is a drama. Flamingo Prince. What do you expect? But taking that in, he was someone who would constantly get mad at me. Whenever it was me minding my own business or just doing my own stuff with someone else or something like that. Like, I don't know what it is with him. He just really didn't like doing the stuff with me, or sometimes I had to do stuff with him in order to make him happy or something. Even though he said in his own words, he said to me, oh, you're only just doing that just to please me, when I never said anything like that. And in some ways, I understand that people are going to go through struggles every now and then, but let me tell you, that wasn't the only thing that left me through creativity burnout. See, I'm not going to say what made me want to say I got burnout all the time, but let me just say, this year in particular, I did get burnout every now and then. You may have noticed that I've mostly Metro Girl podcast episodes, very few chillaxing streams, and sometimes a lot editing streams, if anything, to judge by. A common complaint people say that, oh, when's the next video going to arrive or something, when I usually just post in my community post when the next video will be. And when this video goes up, I know that people are going to look at this and think, oh, it's just pointless by the end of the day, but let me tell you, I wouldn't know how else to say it either. I must reiterate that I started my channel way back in 2023 when I was still trying to find my niche. But during that time period, I didn't know I was going to create a channel in 2024. I only made this here channel because I just wanted to see what it'd be like to get out there. And while I admit I'm not really uber famous, I don't play myself to be uber famous because I don't want to be someone like, say, Mr. Beast and like, even though Mr. Beast has his own problems if you've gathered already. But that being said, however, what really gets to me when creating this channel is probably for how much a lot of people still stuck with me to this day. I realize that some people are going to look at this video and thinking, oh, you're only saying that because, well, you just want to get yourself out there. And let me just state this for the record. Attention or not, your videos are out there to be seen, whether they're from very few people or from people who really want to see what you brought to the table. It's not every day you start seeing that despite what you think of my channel, I'm not expecting everyone to enjoy my content. That's not what I'm aiming for. But at the very least, you can just respect me for where I'm coming from. And even if you can't enjoy that, I don't know what else to say. Again, I didn't know my channel was going to be this far anyways. I started my channel way when I was doing my own drawings, and while my drawings aren't anything spectacular, especially when I start using OCs on an app that I've been using, I still want to understand what's it like to create things, and that of itself is, well, whether you find that creative or not is completely up to you, but I'm just gonna come out and say this. It's really divisive, to say the least, of what you may think of creativity nowadays. If only YouTube in of itself would at least know that, but still, I digress. I think the only reason why I say that is because when you get right down to it, YouTube seems to have this notion where there's always going to be drama, whether it's through the pages that you're already subscribed to, or there's already on your homepage to people that you're not subscribed to. I'm not against people who want to do those out there in particular, but at the end of the day, I just feel like creativity itself is something I'm still going to strive for, even if it's the lowest this group out there. And I don't mean just people who want to create things. I mean people who are still passionate about that stuff. I didn't create my passion right away when it comes to this channel because I was literally calling out people and talking about separate pieces of media, ranging from some, like say adult party cartoons to Pataliro, and doing stuff for my birthday videos and so on. Now, I will admit, yes, my videos may not hit or appeal to anyone out there, but I think to the people who do like these kind of videos, it's pretty much what they gather anyways. And I know some people nowadays are just gonna say, Flammy, I have no opinion on this video. Like, you mean to tell me you can't expect yourself to answer if you like creativity or not? Like, I see people say they love creativity, but it just really reinforces my beliefs that they're only saying that because they want to hear what I have to say. Guys, if you really want to be blunt, you don't have to agree everything I have to say. You can pretty much have your own beliefs if you want to. Have your own niches, your own skills, your own way of collecting things as you gather along. Throughout life, we're only here to do whatever we make the most out of it. And I realize that's not going to appeal to everyone out there, but still, that's really what it is. When I started the channel, I'm just going to come out and say this. I'm just going to be as blunt as I can. I was not expecting myself to get somewhere out there. I've had friends along the way who helped me out, and while I admit that I'm not always going to ask for everything from them, I'm here to say that I'm still grateful for the friends that I've made along the way. And despite how long this video might take, let me just tell you right now, you might be asking yourself the big question, why in particular this video? Part 5, Conclusion. So we're at the home stretch of this video, and well, I gotta say, even if this is just me talking about creativity and what got me inspired and everything like that, again, I know this video is going to become pointless by the end of the day because, let's be real here, a lot of my videos are nothing too salvageable to eat, unless you want to watch the drama videos where me talking about Star Trek Productions, or hell, even something like say Magenta or Trolls Band Together Fan 2001 or anything to judge by. I guess what I'm trying to say is that throughout my time, there's always been one question I'm probably going to be asked one of these days, and it's a question that's been hanging over my mind for quite some time now. Why is this the video I decide to do who after all these years. After all, it's not some grandiose video, or what's more, I'm not doing this because so I'm worried to get out there. What am I, stupid or something? Well, I think it's only because when you get right down to it, creativity was always my niche since I was a young little. And I think that's also because of one thing, because as someone once said before me, it's not the creations that got us here, it's the friends we make along the way. And that's something that really stuck with me. Look, if it wasn't for any of my friends or any of my family or anyone out there who got me this far, I probably wouldn't have been mentioning their names to begin with. Because by the end of the day, this video is supposed to be a 7-year anniversary about how I love creativity. And even if it's not something I expect everyone to enjoy all the time, I don't really think it's that much of a safe bet that if it wasn't for these people, I probably wouldn't have gotten into it either way it would have. I'll put it to you like this. My videos are nothing special. My videos are just there if you ever want to see them for yourself. And when you get right down to it, that's something I still really admire to this day about my friends. They help me throughout a lot of times, and while I admit that I'm not the greatest when it comes to giving advice or anything like that, I think it's true that a lot of people will do anything to make themselves get out there in some places here and there. Hell, if it wasn't for any of the people I've stuck with since 2023 or prior, I probably wouldn't have gotten into that anyways. I've made so many friends along the way that I think it's only fitting to say I might as well give them the shout outs if anything. So prepare yourself for what you're about to establish. First shout out we can give to is Messia, who's been with me since 2021 or so. And I have to say, despite what you may think of her AMV edits and everything like that, she's come a long way since then, and I'm really looking forward to engulf what she has in store for her edits. And if anything, while she did give me a shout out in one of her Conan videos to talk about what's been happening, I think it's only fitting to give the same thing to her back. I know I brought her up a few times in my Magical Girl podcast, but again, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have been doing this to begin with. I give a lot of my love to her, if anything. Next up we have is Giratina, a person who, for the record, that's found me through not just the take-ons, but as well as finding me for actually speaking out my mind is all anyways. Again, I wouldn't have known him if it wasn't for that community post on giving a shout-out from Pikachu of all places, and I'm not even a Pokemon. I'm just a random flamingo prince again, and if anything, I really do admire that. He actually stuck with me like a brother that I never expected myself to get into, if anything, to judge by, and I do commend him for that. Oh, and also, subscribe to his channel, please, because he has a lot of banging video games out there. Like, so much so that you can probably have a ball with that. His videos are pretty chilling, so at least go ahead and subscribe to him if you haven't already. Next up we have is Maddie Abraham, and you know how I brought up those take-ons about Star Giant Productions videos of anything? Yeah, this guy somehow found me through those anyways. Now granted, I did ask him last year how he found me, all because he said he wanted to see if the word got out from Mr. Enter and everything, and I gotta say, for a Spider-Man, he really does do so already. Also, again, subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. His art is fantastic, if nothing else. What? Okay, do the meme if you want to. But yeah, I will say, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't express my creativity even more. And I gotta say, he helped me like I help him and everything. Because, let's be real here, he really does deserve it. He's, like seriously, he's the princess that we all deserve at this point. Like seriously, go subscribe to the princess as well. Speaking of the princess, we might as well have another one that I didn't expect to be a friend of mine, if anything, Uni. And I have to say, for a sisterly friend like Messia, I give you all the love of anything, because I really think you really deserve it, girl. You really need it. And if anything, I really have to say, when I first started chatting with her, I didn't expect her to do like me right away, if anything. I mean, seriously, I was just posting Studio Ghibli movies to see which ones could be someone's favorites, and wouldn't you know it, she actually commented on it, and we started chatting. Hey, Editor Flammy here. So I know I'm going to be putting more shoutouts as time goes on, but I do apologize if I can't put every one on there, but I'm going to put the ones that stood out to me, if anything. So if that really bothers you, I will say I give you all thanks, if anything. So let's continue. Next up we got is Creative Webs, another person who's also a great artist, but also a great friend to have in mind. Love her sass and love her advice too. She may not have videos in the meantime of anything, but whatever she has in store, I'm sure she'll be cooking up anything. Also, follow her whatever socials she has, because again, she really needs some more love and attention if anything. Like seriously, Creative Webs, if you're watching this, I give my thanks to you for helping me out. I'm seriously, hopefully we'll see what we have in store, and hopefully things will get better as time goes on. I know that life is hard and everything, but still, you do whatever you can to get out there. I'll help you like you help me, and vice versa. Next up we got is Goth Jedi, and I have to fully admit, for having him come out and everything, that's something I will always support. And before you say anything, I know some people are gonna say the usual, but here's the thing. I want you to subscribe to him as well, because he does unboxing videos, and he has a lot of cool ways of looking into fashion and stuff like that. So if anything, he really does deserve the love and need he gets. Like, if this doesn't show how much he does show how much he came out, I don't know what will. Like seriously, for a bro, I really Next up we got is Jesse's Mansion. Now I haven't really caught up with a lot of Jesse's stuff lately, but from what I've seen so far, I kind of like, if anything, because he really does seem to know where he puts his own moments, if anything. And before we say anything, yeah, he deserves some more love as well. Like seriously, go subscribe to him if you haven't already. In fact, every time I bring these up, let me just say for the record, whoever I give a shout out to, please go subscribe to their channel, or find whatever socials you can find them under, because they really deserve more love than you may think. Next up we got is Kristen Thompson, a girl who I actually will admire for being so funny and the most experience of Alice, but also as well as having a lot of love in her heart. Like seriously, he's such a cute cat woman there. But yeah, if anything, go ahead and follow her if anything. I know that she doesn't post that much if anything, but hey, come on now, give her a follow if you'd like, because she really does. Next up we have is the real Thomas! Yay! So hopefully you and Thomas knows what's real there. And I gotta say, even if he's also one of the first few people who really made me also realize about the whole Star Giant thing as well, because, well, that's what got me into doing these videos as anything. I really do commend him for that. I mean, to be as blunt as I can, I may not have interacted with him too much, but he's still a pretty chill dude once you get. Next up we have our most recent ally here, Asher the Lamb in BVT. And I have to say, their art is very adorable, if anything. Like, seriously, go subscribe to them. Like, if you haven't subscribed to them, what are you doing? Go subscribe to them and see what kind of art they're cooking up, if anything. Because they deserve more love than you may think they can do anything. And I gotta say, if nothing else, they really know what they're doing. They're full of energy, and I do commend them for that as well. If only I had that much energy. So to anyone else who wants a shout out, I think you all deserve a shout out. All of you lovely people, all of you lovely fans, all of you lovely friends and family, all of you, mi familia, mi amigo, los bevavon, mi lita. And I gotta say, for the record, I really do enjoy all of you for supporting me for this long. Let's hope that, let's see what the future stores. Hooray. Look, I'm not saying this to be saying on a doubt or a note or anything like that, but I gotta say, I really do appreciate and admire a lot of you for sticking with me for so long. If it wasn't for any of y'all, I probably wouldn't be here at this point. My extra commendment does remind me of how much I really do appreciate all of you for supporting for this long. And before you say anything, before we tune things off, there is something I need to address. See, I haven't posted that much throughout the summer, and like I said, I am a very busy flamingo woman when it comes to that, but don't worry, the sprints will go back to the Metro Girl podcast next time. What that will be, you're gonna have to wait until that comes out when it comes to that. Again, 40 episodes in my Metro Girl podcast, and hopefully this one will be worth the wait, if anything. So if that's something that you really do admire, please let me know if anything anyways. But until then, I don't know what else to say, because I've been rambling on for almost an hour, haven't I? I really hope this video was worth the wait, because I've been putting myself making this video for quite some time now. I realize that not everyone's going to enjoy the video as much as they thought they would have, but whether you like that or not is completely up to you. But you might be asking yourself right now, if anything, if there's more to come, will I be doing more videos like this in the future? Well, that depends. I still want to do a origin story about my Magical Girl podcast or say about the shows I've been dealing with or anything, but I'll have to see when the time comes. And before you say anything, I get that these videos of mine have been taking longer than expected, but that's what happens when you have a busy schedule, both outside of the internet and as well as taking care of things from time to time. I really can't stress enough how much this does feel like I should be trying my best to get videos out there, but whether you like that or not is completely up to you, so let's hope that the future has a lot to in store anyways. But I will say that the next Magical Girl podcast we're going to be doing won't be an anime, but it's a series that I kind of forgot that it existed until I was researching for this video. And well, not this video in particular, but you know what I mean, right? If anything, you'll have to see when the time comes. But until then, I thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay flaming-tastic. I'll see you.